Hey church family, I am so thankful for you and so grateful to our God for all He has done in the past few years together. 1 year ago, we merged Travelers Church and Vintage Church together, and both churches had seen incredible blessing of God, but now much more so together. 4 years ago, my wife Lexi and I and our kiddos moved to Pittsburgh to start Travelers Church. God has been really good. I want to remind us of a few of the milestone moments in the past year. We faced a lot of challenge merging two churches together, and the one I'm most thankful to God about is that He created unity. We are now one family, loving one another and moving the same direction on mission. Part of that is because in the past year we discerned our vision, mission, values, and our traveler's path. Our vision is pursuing wanderers, forming followers, and sending missionaries. We want to see each person move from wanderer to follower to missionary so that they can live out our mission of connecting Jesus to every person's journey. We love living our values to be centered on Jesus, expectant in prayer, loving like family, empowering unique purpose and potential, and being missional, being committed to the completion of the Great Commission. And we enjoy living our 5 habits on repeat: to worship wholeheartedly, connect intentionally, serve faithfully, give generously, and share boldly, because when we do, they lead to the most healthy and fulfilling life we could ever imagine. In the past year, we also balanced the budget, and that was no small task. What's really cool about it is we're the smallest we'll ever be again. And if God would help us balance the budget now, much more so can we expect Him to continue to do so in increasing fashion in our future. I love filming in this exact room because right here, so many people have sat and recorded stories of life transformation. In the past year, we've seen over 40 people receive salvation by Jesus, and over 25 get baptized, with more on the schedule. I have never been a part of a move of God like I've seen in the past year. How good is He? So what about 2025? Next year, I'm excited to share 2 big initiatives we're about to engage in. The first happens here at home, and the second is out in our world. The first is we're going to begin to pay down our building debt in a big way. Some of you newcomers might not realize we don't own our building outright. In fact, it was purchased 5 years ago. And COVID was a big challenge, and other challenges have happened, and we have largely only paid interest to this point. That might sound a little discouraging, but I would encourage you not to be, because thanks to the generosity of our loan holders, it's been a very fair rate and comparable to what we would pay renting elsewhere, except we own this. And it's increased in value, and we've seen God do amazing things here. We're going to pay this building down in our budget and also in excess of our regular generosity. That way we can see this money mobilized into mission as we pay that debt down. The second initiative is out in our world: church planting. It might seem ill-timed or inconvenient to think about doing something out there when we have problems right here at home, but we would not delay obedience to live out the missional calling He's put on our heart, to be sacrificially generous. And so we're saying, God, if you would give us and show us and develop the leader and the people and the resources and show us the specific calling, then we will put our yes on the table to begin the process of planting a church this very next year. I'm so excited about these 2 initiatives, but they're going to take some big commitment on our part. External donors will be rolling off, and our internal body needs to step up and share the load together that we might see the mission move forward. In 2025, we need to see our budget and our generosity grow by $100,000. This might seem like a big number, but I think God will do even more than that. In fact, this year, that's just about the gap that we've covered locally already in 2024. And I believe God will do it again next year. I hope you want to be a part of it. And together, we certainly can. Let me share 4 action steps that might be your best next step. If you've never given before, the first step is to start somewhere. This means to take out your phone or your wallet and find $1 or $20 or $100 or whatever it might be, but just to say, I'm going to start right now, somewhere. Don't worry about the amount as much as about immediate obedience. So start somewhere today. The second step is to create consistency. Just like your bills at home, ours are regular. And we want our leaders to have the right information to wisely steward and make good decisions to build structure around the growth that God is bringing. If you would consider a recurring transaction or a regular amount you can commit to, even if it's not the full amount you hope to give, that consistency that you create gives us great wisdom and the ability to wisely look ahead. The third step gets really exciting. I call it test the tithe. Throughout God's Word, we oftentimes see Him say, "Don't test me." He says it over and over with one exception. He says, "But test me in this. Bring in the full tithe," which means 1/10 of all of our income. He says, if you'll do that, then see if I won't open up the floodgates, the windows of heaven, and pour out supply until you have no more need. How incredible is that, that we test God because we trust God. And so if you get to that point, oftentimes you don't stay there. 3 out of 4 people who tithe go well above and beyond the tithe. And that's because they're walking in the blessing of God's promise, oftentimes financially, but certainly in the intangibles of joy and peace as they lean on Him and ask Him for more seed to sow. Level 4, which is to leave a legacy. There's no limit to what our God can do when we're faithful stewards of all He has entrusted to us. So what's your next step? I want to remind you this is much less about finances, although it is, as it is about vision. When we receive greatly from the well of God's love through Jesus Christ, it is a great joy to pour it all back out, knowing we have a reward in heaven and we're connecting Jesus to every person's journey. I remember 4 years ago, sitting in a chair like this across the table at restaurants and coffee shops and in local churches and sitting across the table from people just like you. I was a little bit younger. I had a little bit less faith. I was a little afraid. But one big thing I knew, a big God who is always good for His promises. I knew the vision God had put in my heart. So I shared it and I waited. And people looked at me and said, "Wes, we want to support you in Lexi. We want to see Travelers Church birthed. We want to see lives changed. And so we're going to go home and pray about this." And they came back to me and they said, "Yes, we will." Across the screen, I would ask you the same thing. What could God do through you? If you would like to have an in-person meeting, I would love to do that, to hear your heart and to help you take the next step, whatever it might be. Start somewhere, create consistency, test the tithe, or leave a legacy. It was such a humbling experience sitting in that chair, hearing all these people come back, knowing that one day I'd be sitting in this chair. The chair you're sitting in today, others likely have paid for, even though they've never sat in it. And they did so before you even knew you needed to sit there. In a like manner, I would call each of us, myself included, up to the tall task, the same task, of paying for the seat of the next generation of Jesus followers. I believe God can do it, and far more abundantly than all we have asked or imagined, because His heart and His vision is far bigger than ours. I can't wait to see all God does through us together.